it's a serious topic, but it makes me feel the good vibes when I listen to that music. What we're doing is ending the stigma together. I'm Tommy D. I call myself the nonprofit sector connector. And I'm on a mission, I'm on a journey. I don't have most of the answers, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm looking to build this campaign and work with people and find out how together we can be ending the stigma. And I say it that way because I want it to be an action verb. I want it to be something where we're doing this, not, hey man, it would be cool if we ended the stigma, or it'd be real nice one day if we, no man. We're doing this, we're ending it. And how do I do that? I bring great professionals from different walks of life who can see the conversation, or hear the conversation, see the conversation about mental health and mental illness through a different lens. Each guest has their own experiences that they're gonna share with me. My friend today is Yolanda, well, she's my friend tomorrow, she was my friend yesterday, but my guest today and my friend, Yolanda Robano Gross, Chief Executive Officer of Options for Community Living. Cool shirt, man.
I know.
I dig it, man. You knew.
I had the first one you told me.
You did have the first one.
I
You
did.
You understood the assignment. There's a song that said, I understood the assignment. You understood the assignment. I always like when we talk, for all the different reasons we talk. Your organization, serving people with mental illness, serving people living with HIV and AIDS, experiencing homelessness, addiction, right, substance abuse disorder, all of this, right, which I believe is all interrelated, obviously. Tell me your background, because I think we got to set kind of some context there, and then how you get to options, and then we go into this stigma around mental health.
So, I've been in this field what seems like a million years, but I started back at Marist College as a English major, and I was a theater kid. So I was going to teach English, run a theater department. I had the best theater teacher in high school, Russ Silla, and I was going to be Mr. Silla 2.0.
And that was it. That was like
and that was it.
All set
that
up.
was my plan. I was going to have my summers off. I was going to do it all. And then I needed to take, as everybody does, some sort of social science requirement. And Intro to Social Work took place on a Monday night, and I could still have my Fridays off.
Nice.
So Intro to Social Work it was. I had the best teacher. It was a night class. The evening classes were typically taught by adjuncts, so there were people out in the community really doing the work, as opposed to people who were full-time academics, which they're great too, but this gave us a different perspective.
Right.
This lady was awesome, and she totally turned my head. So I went back the following semester and figured out a way to take another class with her and make it cover an elective credit. I said, let me try this one more time. And I'm going to say it was like a policy class. And again, amazing. And
It awakened something.
It did. There was something, and look, I was born and raised between Hewlett and Merrick on Long Island, right? I had a great life growing up. You know, I was aware, as any teenager is aware, of what's going on in my community. Right. But it didn't really affect me directly.
Sure.
And here I am in Poughkeepsie, and interestingly enough, back then, so I was there from 86 to 90. Okay. The city of Poughkeepsie versus the town of Poughkeepsie were two different animals. Sure. The college, at the time, IBM, right? That was one different world. You went past that into the city. Yeah, different. And, you know, it was like any other urban setting.
A lot of people with lack of any resources.
Lack of funds, just lack of anything, pretty much. So I changed my major that year. Wow. Called my mother, because we had payphones back then, so called my mother from the payphone. She said, what, are you crazy? I said, no. She said, well, you have to get your master's right away. I said, okay, because she knew enough that, you know,
that
really,
if you were going, you got to get that MSW and go that way. Right.
So I graduated with my BSW. Okay. It was awesome. I went from there to Yeshiva University. So I went Marist Catholic School, Yeshiva University, not a Catholic school, where I got a minority scholarship as being a Catholic female. Because they had to have a certain amount of non-Jewish people, a certain amount of females. Went there, got my MSW, started working at Montefiore Hospital in the dialysis center. Loved it, loved the action of the hospital. Was there a few years and said to my boss, who has since passed, now what? Like, what do I do now?
How long were you at Montefiore?
So the first time for 2 years, came back out to the island, did Mercy in South Nassau. They were opening another dialysis center, so I went back to open that one up with them. so another year or so.
So let me understand that. What are you doing in that setting at Montefiore?
I was the social worker for the dialysis unit. So it's a lot of people on dialysis, they're there 3 days a week, and they're there for ever unless they pass or get a donor.
Right.
So it's a lot of long-term counseling. You know, we saw these people more than some of their families did.
Yeah, right.
And whatever issues were going on, from body image issues, right?
Sure.
Now you have an access port in you that looks kind of funky and you didn't have it before, to how do I work out still going to work? You know, can I be that late at night shift or that early morning shift? Or how do I go on vacation?
Right, because I got to be here 3 days getting this done.
Right.
Right.
So I was doing that, loved it, said to my boss, what do I do now? He says, go back to school. And I said, it's going to take me 3 years going part-time.
Yeah.
He said, well, you're going to be 3 years older anyway. You want to
Love
be
that.
3 years.
That's the right attitude, though, isn't it? I mean, but we all get caught up in that. But what's the difference?
He
so
said,
do
you
it.
want to be 3 years older with a second master's, or you want to be 3 years older without a second master's?
Yeah.
Went to Hofstra. Wow. Got a master's in health administration, and then thought the world was going to hire me. And every door shut, and everybody said, go away, social worker.
Yeah.
You have no administrative experience.
Oh, wow.
Knocked on the door of United Cerebral Palsy, knowing nothing about disability services. Joanne Mabiglia is awesome. She's a great lady. She was their vice president for clinical services. She was like, fine, you want to do this? She gave me 3 clinics to run. I knew nothing about nothing. But I knew real quick that working in disability services, you're in or you're out. There is no lukewarm in any kind of services like these. People were given the privilege to help people who otherwise can't help or don't have the capacity yet to help themselves. So, you know, it was something that I was like, okay, this is my world. I found my place.
Wow.
And, you know, 20-something years later, I've been through a couple of organizations.
Sure.
The last 10 of which have been at Options.
10 years in Options.
Yeah.
Talk about Options. I said what I think I hit on most of what the organization does. Maybe I was wrong on some of that.
No, Options for Community Living is an amazing place. Again, quite by accident, and ended up there 10 years ago. Our 43rd anniversary is next week on February 8th.
Okay.
I took the place of a wonderful woman who was the founder for 32 years. So they had never had anybody but her. And in I walked, different generationally, different ideas, different style.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew quite what to do with me in the beginning. But we've grown the organization by leaps and bounds, and that means we can serve more people and help more people. And pretty much you hit our populations that we serve right on the head. We have people with mental health issues. We have people who are experiencing homelessness or at risk for homelessness, and people who are HIV positive and living with AIDS. So that's, and adults, children, housing programs, community-based programs, kind of the mixed bag of everything. You
and your team, well, I think you especially, are like always on. And I had no intention of saying that, but it came out because I think, and I'm thinking about our colleague and friend, Dr. Jeffrey Reynolds, and I ran into a bunch of other friends yesterday.
Right, because we were at that breakfast.
Yes. So I saw Neela Mukherjee Lakhel. I saw Lisa Birch was sitting with us, right? I saw Suzette Gordon at CO Family Services.
Right.
You folks are on the front lines, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, we'll take phone calls. I mean, I get a kick out of Jeff Reynolds because he's everywhere, right? And he's coming on the show in a couple weeks. And it's just like, what people in our sector do is unbelievable. It's nonstop, and it's challenging stuff, right? So I asked the panel yesterday, you were there, I asked the panel about how do you take care of your people, meaning your staff, as it relates to this conversation, mental health. Because trauma is real, and if I'm dealing with trauma of my patients or constituents, the people we serve, now that hits me. That doesn't bounce off and go away. I'm taking that with me. I set that up just to really say, you folks are never off. Never. 2 o'clock in the morning, you get phone calls. I know it because you tell me, right, about something happened in a home or whatever it might be, and there's a response. You have to respond to what's going on. My question is, I'm on this campaign. I told you I was going to do it. It all started when my friend Jamie Rosen asked me to put together a panel discussion at the Nassau County Bar Association. And of course, your words, whatever Tommy D asked me to do, I do, so I knew I could count on you. So I had you there, I had Neela there, and I had Dr. Larry Grubler there, right? When I say ending the stigma, what is that? How does that land on you? Because again, the thing about this show is, as big a fan as I am of myself, I don't have most of the answers. I'm really here just to ask questions and open up a dialogue.
You know, we toss that, or the world tosses that term around a lot. And honestly, it's not always people that know the impact behind it. So I have a godchild who's trans, and his favorite term, and you know, we can all learn from people that are younger than us, older than us.
Sure.
He said to me one time, we were talking about something, he said, "Hey, Yolanda, that's performative activism." And I was like, "Well, what does it mean?" He's like, "Well, you're a theater kid performing."
Yeah.
He's like, "It's the people that jump on the bandwagon, so it looks like what they're doing is cool,
Sure.
but it really doesn't mean anything."
Right. So does it mean they're not even making an impact, or does it mean they're disingenuous?
Right. And I'd like to hope it's the two, it's not making an impact.
Right.
But there's, of course, there's huge things, right? There's funding related things.
Right.
There's education, right? There's a lot of things that encompass ending the stigma, but there's just being kind and just being a person, right? I walk down the street in the morning, I catch your eye, there's nothing, and I'm not telling anybody to put themselves in any kind of danger.
Of course.
Right? But there is nothing wrong with nodding someone and saying good morning, right? How's your day going? Right? Good. We'll just keep going.
That was that was like life. That's what people did 50, 60 years ago.
People
You looked
now
up.
do this.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the harm is, because let me tell you, and I've been through it with some folks, there are times when a kind word, a moment of action can change what that person's plan was for that day. I went to see a client of ours who I adored, and she has since passed. She was in the hospital. She was street homeless for years before she came to us. Now, think about this. You're street homeless. Your friend ends up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that cool? I can go to a hospital for a lot of hours, visit my friend, be warm, use a bathroom, all these things. So I walked in to see her, and there was a gentleman. So she said, "Michael, this is the CEO of Options. Yolanda, this is Michael." And because my mother raised me well, I said, "Hello, Michael, nice to meet you." And he shook my hand, but he kind of flinched. And I was like, "Yolanda, don't be a dummy. People are still a little worried about COVID and touching." And I said, "I'm so sorry. He said, "No, ma'am, it's not that." He said, "I live on the streets. Do you know how long it's been since someone shook my hand?" So there it is. I mean, I, for days, walked around so flabbergasted, and so I didn't know if I was moved by it, angered by it, maybe a little bit of both. But something as simple as that. No one asks to be sick at all. No one asks for HIV, no one asks for mental health issues, but for that part, no one asks for diabetes or high blood pressure or anything else, right?
Sure.
It happens. Can you blame people? Maybe. Does it help? No. So here it is. Someone is sick. Someone has a problem. Just be kind. I don't know why, if someone chooses to talk about their HIV status, about their bipolar disorder, about their depression, why can't that maybe be met with the same response and the same empathy of someone who said, "You know what, I was just diagnosed with diabetes."
Yeah, I just got a diagnosis. Right.
Okay.
I don't know why. That's what I'm trying. Like, I looked some of this stuff up, and I did a little research. It goes back to like ancient history and stuff like this. Demons, right? These people are possessed by demons, and like again, I'm riffing. I don't know the answer. If you know the answer, hit me up. You know, subscribe, like, and subscribe. You know how people say that. But like, I don't know. But I did some research on it, and it goes way back. And I knew that story that you just told, because you've told me that story before, and I knew it was coming, and I still got I got very emotional when you told that story. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, and the fear that's attached to this, right? And I don't say it's not warranted fear, I don't believe. The fear, though, people are afraid when they're, now we talk about our fair city, New York City, how it's changed and everything like that. If we met these people with compassion, yes, maybe we need to be careful about, because we don't
100%.
know. I don't know. I don't know. We don't know.
Not saying take a stranger home.
No, 100%, right? Right. But we can engage with somebody, right? We can.
I think part of it also has to do with the public face of it. What we see on the news is what sells, right? Excitement sells. What was the expression? Sex sells, right? Anything that's will catch your eye, explosions sell.
Yeah.
I can't tell you for how many years I've said to people, come sit and talk to me. And I'm talking about, big, and I get it, options on Long Island, right? ABC News isn't coming to me. But even News 12, who's in our backyard, right?
Yeah.
Come talk to me. Let me show you that for all the sensationalism, and I'm not saying it's not out there, there are outliers with all of us, right?
100%.
So, but come and see the people.
Do they come? Yeah, I think they don't come.
Right now, coming to work every day, going to school. We just got
who are right? living with a serious mental illness, or living with a diagnosis of HIV, or and who are doing what they do.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the rule. Right, that's the majority of folks that are doing that, right? But you say the outliers are the situations that get put on the TV, and again, bad things happen, right? We're not, neither 100%. One of us is saying that bad things don't happen, and people don't lose things, and things go really bad, but the majority of folks, it's not that.
But for every 10 hours of the negative, I'd be happy if they'd give us, that if it's not me, one of my colleagues, an hour of the positive.
But so then that's what, okay, so my question keeps going, well, how do we end the stigma? We're ending the stigma. Okay, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more education, right? Maybe it's, you know what I'm doing in 3 weeks? We're doing 3 more episodes of this show. Okay, now I just let the secret out of the bag. I do some shows at the same day. But 3 different individuals from Zucker Hillside Hospital. One is a peer advocate, one is a therapist, a psychiatrist, and the third is a 30-year veteran nurse here at Zucker Hillside Hospital. So we're going to educate people. We're going to tell these stories. And I use this word about this campaign and this concept as normalizing this conversation. And guess what? I don't want to say shame on Channel 7 or shame on News 12. It is what it is. They're a different business, right? Who cares? I don't really care, to be honest with you. I'm indifferent, whatever. But we can show those stories. I can show those stories. There's the gentleman who's coming on, who's a peer advocate. He had an incredible story to tell me. We did a Zoom call. And I'm like, and they wanted to do some sit together and do the conversation together. I said, your conversation,
story all by yourself.
I need your story alone for 30 minutes. That's what I need to do.
And it's generational. I mean, let's be fair. My parents are in their 70s. I had very progressive parents, very open-minded, so that's how I was taught. So now my daughter is 22. That's how she's been raised. She's now working for one of my colleagues, right? So it's generational too, right? It's not rocket science. I mean, when I used to work in the ID, the intellectual disabilities field, before I came to options, we would do Special Olympics with our guys, right? And Morgan was all of 6 or 7. And
she only knows that. That's her paradigm, right? She only knows inclusion in this world, right?
So I take her, and she goes into first grade show and tell and says, this weekend we went to Special Olympics, and I get to help my mom coach, her whatever, and this is where it was. And I get a call from another mother that says, I'd appreciate it if Morgan didn't come over anymore, because we don't let our child near those people.
What? She's 22 years old. What are you talking about?
She was 6
no,
at the time.
That's 16 years ago. Come on.
No, that's when I got the call.
What are we talking about? Like
and I said, you realize it's
that's
not.
That's like last week.
I said, you realize it's not contagious, right?
Oh my gosh.
Talk about karma. About 6 months later, the same mother is on the phone. Her niece had a baby.
Oh no. The
child is born with a disability.
Oh, wow.
And she'd like to know from me, where can we get service?
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Oh.
So
not funny to laugh at
but
these family, but this is what it is. But that's too recent though. That was the thing. Like, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that now.
It can happen to everyone. If you think about it, if everybody just stand at your front door and look at your block, 1 in 4 people have a diagnosed mental illness.
Now, when you say that, because let's get technical, because I always change this to my own version. When you say that, you mean a serious mental illness, a diagnosis, 1 in 4. Right. So guess what? I have no clinical background. I don't have a master's in social work. I don't have a BS. I got none of it. I got BS. Plenty of it. That's what I'm good at. Here comes more of it, in fact. I think the other 3 have mental illness. They might not have SMI, they might not have a diagnosis, but I believe it's a spectrum. You guys want to argue with me, Tommy D at philanthropyandfocus.com. But that's what it is, right? So go back to your 1 in 4 though.
If we're very quick to say, and that was my point of this mom all those years ago, is not me, not me, not me.
Yeah.
Except for, look, the numbers bear out, right? If I'm going to count houses, the numbers bear out. Now, maybe those people don't live at Options or Concern or Free or one of my other colleagues, right? Maybe they're lucky enough that they have family and they can stay home in the community and they don't need that extra support, and that's awesome. But they're there.
Right. So but you're saying that to just show that, to say that, what are you thinking? This is us. This is human beings. This is what it is. This is like that show.
This is us.
This is us. But this is the deal.
Right.
And I tend to, in the last handful of years, talk about myself in these occasions. And I go, look, I see a therapist twice a week, and I love doing it. I love it. I love talking to Sean. I love Sean. He listens. He comes back with ideas for me, right? That's great. I need that. I think the more we can say that, and that's matter of fact, that people are in therapy and people have needs and challenges, then people go, oh, wow. Well, I'll tell you, for years I would have said, I won't see a therapist.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't know why not, right?
Whatever you need to get up and get through your day. Diabetes is always the easiest example because everybody gets it.
Because you need your insulin.
So if I needed insulin, would I never not take it? Of course I wouldn't take it.
Right.
Or not take it.
Of course you would take it, right.
So if I need to see a therapist, if I need another kind of medication, if I need whatever, and that gets me out in the world every morning and I go to work or I go to school or I'm interacting with my family, that's what it's all about. Because the alternative is to not get the care and not interact and go into your closet or your bedroom and stay away from everybody. That's what we're trying to do. It affects all of us. Because if it's not you, and I'm not pointing you or me, if it isn't you out there, then it's the person you're married to, it's the children you're raising, or it's the people who raised you. Right? I mean, it's just math. And it does not discriminate. No. There is nothing about mental health that goes to age, race, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status. It's widespread. Yeah. And it doesn't care who it chooses or affects. And I think if people could just remember that and just be a little kind. Yes. And that's what it is. It's being kinder. You've said that from the opening of this show, being kinder, having love, having compassion. And I just recently was interviewed for an article, and it was like 5 questions. And at the end of the last question, I kind of answered this about what you just said. Why can't we just show love and compassion? Like, what are we doing? Like, and this goes into, then I get on my soapbox and I get out, how can we have people who are homeless? Right. How can we have our veteran community who are homeless? I mean, it goes on and on and on, and it gets a little, it gets down a lot of rabbit holes. It can, and I'm pretty good at getting down a rabbit hole. It happens to me very quickly. If you had to make some suggestions to the society, that's what we're doing here. This would just show it. Yes, you say show love, show compassion. Yeah. What exactly, like? I would say education is key. Educate yourself, educate your children. There is no shame in asking any question. The shame is in not learning. Yeah. So if you're not sure of something, you don't know how something works, you're not sure what the situation is. I had somebody call me recently from the community, and she started at like this level. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is it you actually want to know? What, she was reaching out to what? To learn? Because those people, she had just found out, live on her block. And I said, well, those people have been in that house for 20-something years. because now all of a sudden you realize it.
Oh, so you just found
now we got a problem.
Yeah, right.
So
is this an options home? Is that okay? Got it.
So you know what you could do? You could, if you've just realized, right? You've interacted, I guess, or not interacted for all these years. What would you do if you had a new neighbor, right? I stop over with a piece of cake, right?
Yeah.
I say, my name's Yolanda. Here's who I am. If you're trying to navigate the neighborhood, knock on my door. I'll give you a hand.
Yeah.
Just educate. By the time we were done, and without giving away anybody's private information, because quite honestly, our information is no one's business, all of ours, unless we ourselves choose to share it. But with that, I was able to talk her to a level where she was like, oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. What's the ripple effect of that conversation? You think about that? Like, what is the ripple effect?
Because she's going to, at dinner or whatever that night, say, by the way, you know that phone call I was yelling about this morning that I was going to make?
Yeah.
So I made it.
Yeah.
And here's the outcome of it.
And here's how I'm a changed person, and I got a different perspective. And maybe she has young people at that dinner table with her.
Right.
And now what is the ripple of that? Now those young people, I'm imagining this, like it was in my house. And, and then we'd be like, isn't that interesting? Let's learn.
And even if it doesn't fix everything, it puts a conversation at the table that people are very uncomfortable having.
That's great.
So have the difficult conversations.
Let's go, yeah. Let's have the difficult conversations. Let's educate people. Let's empower people to think differently. That's what I'm hearing, think differently.
Yeah.
This is like a mission for me now. It's become this, like, I obsess a little bit about things, and this has become something I'm obsessing about. And what's fun about it and exciting is I have no idea where it goes. I know that there'll be an event where once we've done like 50 episodes of this show, I put all these 50 people in a room, and we just go, let's talk, and let's talk, and let's talk. And I know this, as big as my ego might be, it's not big enough to know that I'm saying, I'm all about taking this thing and running with it. Folks, go. Make your little mixed groups and stuff and go.
Yeah.
Let us know if you have ideas. Let us know if you have concepts. Let us know if you want us to plug in with you. But if not, just end this thing. Just get together. Make it a better place. Show compassion. Show love. And I say this a lot. Freaking hug somebody, man. Shake somebody's hand. I'm going to cry. I knew the punchline of that story, and I still was very emotional as you were telling it, because how we've all been rejected in life, right? Whether it be as a child, not getting excluded from a group of friends, whatever it may be, but to feel like you're rejected all the time like that, and
by all of society,
by the whole world. That's a human being laying in the gutter, right? And our friend Jeff McQueen, I was having a conversation with him recently, and he goes, yeah, okay, maybe that individual stinks. You'd stink too if you hadn't showered.
Do you know what,
You'd be angry too if you hadn't had a meal.
So I love Jeff. Jeff and I are good friends. We're colleagues. Jeff had come at one point to speak to my staff at a staff development day. And I will always say this. He's in front of my group. He is charismatic. He's awesome. And he says, what's your product? And my staff is like, yeah, counseling, housing, case management. And he said, no, your product is hope. You sell hope.
We love you, Jeff McQueen.
We do.
We do.
But he's right. And we say it all the time. What's our product? Our product is hope.
I love it.
We sell hope.
We got to leave it there because we are out of time. I can't believe it. I'm so happy I know you. Thank you for being my friend. Seriously, you're always welcome. You changed my life, and I love working together and changing more lives. We're doing something here. We're ending the stigma. I'm Tommy D. This is another In Focus production. Bye now.